How did Palace look lost in England, yet unstoppable in Europe? For a club with 119 years of almost nothing, this season became a 12-month historical anomaly. The season opened in Wembley drama as Palace drew 2-2 with Liverpool in the Community Shield final, then held their nerve to win on penalties. A goalless draw at Stamford Bridge followed as Palace opened their Premier League campaign against Chelsea. Palace made their first European night at Selhurst Park count, beating Fredrikstad 1-0 in the playoff first leg as Mateta put them ahead in the tie. Sarr gave Palace the lead against Nottingham Forest, but Hudson-Odoi replied in a 1-1 draw at Selhurst Park. Palace saw out the Fredrikstad tie with a goalless second leg and advanced 1-0 on aggregate. Palace returned from Europe to beat Aston Villa 3-0 at Villa Park, with Mateta, Guy and Sarr all on target. Selhurst Park then saw Palace held to a goalless draw by Sunderland. Richards put Palace ahead against Millwall, but Leonard levelled late before Palace won 4-2 on penalties to reach the fourth round. Palace beat West Ham 2-1 at the London Stadium as Mateta struck first and Mitchell restored the lead. Sarr and Nketiah fired Palace past Liverpool in a 2-1 home win, stretching their league unbeaten run to 6 and lifting them to third. Munoz and Nketiah scored in a 2-0 Conference League win away to Dynamo Kiev before Borna Sosa was sent off late. Munoz's goal was not enough as Palace went down 2-1 away to Everton, with Grealish striking the late winner. Mateta's hat-trick rescued a 3-3 draw against Bournemouth at Selhurst Park, with his stoppage-time penalty salvaging a point. Bajic's second-half winner gave AEK Larnaca a 1-0 Conference League stage victory at Selhurst Park. Arsenal edged Palace 1-0 at the Emirates, a result that dropped them 2 places to 10th. Palace stunned Liverpool at Anfield with a 3-0 Carabao Cup win as Sarr struck twice before Pino sealed their place in the quarter-finals. Mateta struck first and Collins' own goal wrapped up a 2-0 win over Brentford at Selhurst Park. Sarr's brace led Palace past AZ Alkmaar 3-1 on a European night at Selhurst Park, with Lacroix also on target. Selhurst Park staged a goalless derby as Palace and Brighton shared the points on their Premier League return. Muniz and Pino struck in a 2-0 win at Wolves, sending Palace climbing back to 5th. Strasbourg turned it around in the Conference League and beat Palace 2-1 after Mitchell had opened the scoring. Manchester United left Selhurst Park with a 2-1 win after Mateta's penalty had put Palace in front. Munoz's first-half goal settled a 1-0 win at Turf Moor as Palace bounced back against Burnley. Palace kept rolling as Nketiah put them ahead, Wilson levelled for Fulham and Guehi struck late to make it 2-1 and lift Palace into the top 4. Uche made the early break count at Talahert Stadium and Nketiah with Pino finished off a controlled 3-0 win over Shelburne. Haaland struck twice as Manchester City won 3-0 at Selhurst Park, a sharp reminder of the gap at the top. Palace finished the league stage with a 2-2 draw against Coops, as Devaney's late leveller rescued the night after the visitors had gone down to 10. Calvert-Lewin's brace set Leeds on course for a 4-1 home win, with Devaney's added-time penalty only a consolation. A Lacroix own goal put Palace behind in Arsenal's Carabao Cup quarter-final, and Guehi's late equaliser forced penalties before Palace lost the shootout that went out. Gray's first-half goal was enough for Tottenham to win 1-0 at Selhurst Park. Mateta gave Palace the start they wanted, but Fulham struck late for a 1-1 draw and took him to 10 goals in all competitions. Palace fell 2-0 to Newcastle at St James's Park as Bruno Guimaraes and Thiaw struck after the break. Palace answered that defeat with a goalless home draw against Aston Villa. Then came one of the season's lowest points as Palace went out of the FA Cup at Macclesfield, losing 2-1 despite Pino's late consolation. Palace slipped to a 2-1 defeat at Sunderland as Pino's equaliser was answered by Lafy and Brobby. Adam Wharton's red card turned the game as Chelsea took control at Selhurst Park, with Richards pulling one back late in a 3-1 defeat. Palace came away from Nottingham Forest with a 1-1 draw as Sarr's penalty answered Gibbs White and Forest lost Nico Williams before the interval. Sarr settled it at the Amex as Palace beat Brighton 1-0, taking him to 10 goals in all competitions. Larsson struck twice, but Palace still went down 3-2 to Burnley at Selhurst Park after a brutal spell before the break, including a Lerma own goal. Palace's first Conference League knockout tie began with a 1-1 draw away to Zrinski as Sarr's opener was wiped out to leave the tie level. Gessan won it in the 90th minute as Palace beat Wolves 1-0 after Krejci's red card shifted the balance. Palace completed the job against Zrinski with a 2-0 second leg win to go through 3-1 on aggregate as Lacroix opened the scoring before Gessan struck late. Lacroix put Palace in front at Old Trafford, then saw red as Manchester United turned it around to win 2-1. Sarr's brace led Palace past Tottenham 3-1, with Mickey van der Ven's first-half red card helping turn the match. Palace and AEK Larnaca played out a tense, goalless first leg at Selhurst Park, leaving the round of 16 tie finely balanced. Leeds held Palace to a goalless draw at Selhurst Park even after Gabriel Goodmanson's first-half red card. Sarr struck twice in Palace's 2-1 second-leg win over AEK Larnaca, sending them into the quarter-finals after a chaotic night that ended with 2 home red cards. Fiorentina was swept aside 3-0 at Selhurst Park as Palace carried their European momentum on, with Mateta, Mitchell and Sarr all scoring. Newcastle were beaten 2-1 at Selhurst Park as Mateta's late brace carried Palace through and took him to 10 Premier League goals. Sarr struck in Florence, but Palace still lost 2-1 to Fiorentina and went through to the semi-final 4-2 on aggregate. A 0-0 draw with West Ham brought a steadier domestic return, but the league still felt secondary to what was building in Europe. Munoz replied late at Anfield, but Liverpool were already 3 goals clear, and Palace fell to a 3-1 defeat. Palace took control of the semi-final with a 3-1 first-leg win away to Shakhtar Donetsk, as Sarr, Kamada and Larsson all found the net. Palace's league troubles deepened at Bournemouth, where an own goal, a penalty and a third blow handed them a damaging 3-0 defeat and left them 15th. An own goal opened the way against Shakhtar Donetsk, and Sarr added the second in a 2-1 win that sent Palace through to the Conference League final. Sarr and Mateta shared the goals in a 2-2 draw with Everton, with Sarr's strike taking him to 20 goals in all competitions. Manchester City won 3-0 at the Etihad, with Palace securing safety, but again seeing the gulf between domestic survival and European ambition. Palace drew 2-2 away to Brentford after Sarr's early penalty and Wharton's equaliser, but Ouattara's brace denied them a final league win. Arsenal left Selhurst Park with a 2-1 win, though Mateta's late goal took him to 15 in all competitions. And then came Leipzig. Crystal Palace beat Rayo Vallecano 1-0 in the Conference League final to complete one of the strangest and greatest seasons in the club's history. Crystal Palace finished 15th in the league and crashed out of the FA Cup to non-league Macclesfield, so domestically the season often looked chaotic, fragile and underwhelming. But in Europe, they were something else entirely, calm, resilient and ruthless when the stakes rose. Add the Community Shield at the start and the Conference League at the end, and suddenly a club that had waited 119 years for major glory had compressed an entire golden era into a single 12-month burst.